Hello everyone. I hope so. You will be fine. My name is Dr. Abid and I teach Environment and Ecology in GSS Core. I welcome to all of you in GSS Core. As you know that we have started a wonderful series regarding approaches to mains. In this series, we discuss a single question and we find the concept behind the question. Then we give you the model answer, and the last one, we provide you the probable questions for your practices. Basically, this series has the greatest advantage is that we break down the questions into different parts. Then we try to understand what are the keywords and how we can write the best answer to get the maximum marks in civil service mains examination. So as you know that we have given you the so many classes and so many questions regarding approaches to mains. Today we will discuss Conference of Parties UNFCCC. You know that whenever we talk about the Conference of Parties, so Conference of Parties is the highest decision making body of UNFCCC. Let's check the question, then we'll find out and we'll break down the question into different parts. So this question was taken from 2021 mains examination, GS paper 3rd. Describe the major outcomes of 26th session of the Conference of Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So this is the first part. What are the commitment made by India in this conference? This is the second part. Okay, getting my points? Now we have to understand what are the major points inside these questions and how we can improve our knowledge through these all tactics. You know that UNFCCC is the result of the Earth Summit in 1992. So basically UNFCCC, Kyoto Protocol, Paris Agreement, these all are very, very important results of Earth Summit. And surprisingly, you will find out that whenever a question will come from the COP or UNFCCC, IPCC or Kyoto Protocol or Paris Agreement, India connection or India's commitment वहाँ पर होगा. What are the commitments made by India in this conference? ये बहुत ज़रूरी हो जाता है. Getting my points? So now let's break down the questions and understand the gravity of the question. This is the concept behind the question. This is the concept behind the question. Basically, I have discussed that there are two parts in this question and each demanding specific attention. Getting my points? The first part is talking about describe the major outcomes of 26th session of the Conference of Parties to UNFCCC. And we have to think about what are the directives and what is the focuses. With the help of these two things, we'll find out what kind of knowledge you are expecting from our side. So directives means describe or requires a factual, structured presentation of the key outcomes. And this is the focus that agreements or the declaration made at COP26, Glasgow Climate Pact. Getting my points? So first of all, you can mention that what are the agreements, declarations made by COP26. जब भी कोई सबमिट होता है तो लास्ट में हम ये देखते हैं किस तरह का एग्रीमेंट हुआ है एंड व्हाट आर द कमिटमेंट्स, डिस्कशन क्या क्या हुआ, ये सारी चीजें हैं. ग्लासगो क्लाइमेट पैक्ट, डिस्कशन ऑन मिटिगेशन, एडेप्टेशन, फाइनेंस, कार्बन मार्केट, etc. यू नो दैट जब भी क्लाइमेट चेंज मिटिगेशन को लेकर बात हुई है, सो वी हैव टू थिंक अबाउट मिटिगेशन, एडेप्टेशन, फाइनेंस, कार्बन मार्केट्स, ट्रांसफर टेक्नोलॉजी और जो गोल्स दिए गए हैं वो फुलफिल हुए हैं या नहीं हुए हैं, ये सब डिस्कशन में आता है. So we have to focus on these important areas. Now let's move toward the second part. What are the commitments made by India in this conference? And you will find out there that India's commitment is that this is a straightforward request to enumerate and briefly explain India's official pledge or national statement. You know that we have decided and we have a number of commitments to reduce the impact of climate change, and we have we have a different kind of tools, and we have a we are expecting the funds and the technology transfer from the developed nations. ये भी इस पे है. So in this summit, the focus was on India's Panch Amrit, the 5 points of climate. बहुत important है. Pledge, net zero target years, renewable energy goals, India's position on equity, and climate justice. You know that each and every keyword or point is highly important for our answer. So basically we have break down the question into 2 parts, and with the help of these 2 parts we can say that we can able to understand the depth of the question. Getting my point? Let's check the second phase of the question. What are the knowledge base required? To answer this question effectively, you have to know about the COP26 held in Glasgow 2021. Understand the Glasgow Climate Pact, means current affairs se update rahiye. Means if you are a serious candidate or aspirant, so means you are reading newspaper daily, so definitely you will know that what is the Glasgow Summit and Glasgow Climate Pact. And you have to focus on Panch Amrit was given by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and its commitment. What is the climate finance debate and the global carbon market? India's position in context of developing countries. You know that. In UNFCCC, it was decided that developed nation will transfer technology to developing nation and fund. These 2 are the most important thing: technology transfer and fund transfer, because they are developing, they are facing the different kind of challenges, and they have achieved the next dimension of the development. They have a prime duty to help the developing nation. ये क्या कर रहे हैं? Help कर रहे हैं to reduce the different kind of challenges regarding the climate change. Getting my points? Now let's move toward the answer. What is the model answer? I started my answer from the introduction. As you know that introduction, man, body, conclusion are the main parts of the answer writing. The question is that how to choose and pick up the best word in the introduction to briefly describe our answer, या शुरुआत जो आंसर की है उसको अच्छे से दिखा सके. So you will find out there, this is the hardly 4-line introduction. So Conference of Parties to the UNFCCC held in Glasgow, Scotland in 2021. I mentioned the location in the first line. It was crucial global summit aimed to accelerating action under the Paris Agreement 2005. In the second line, I mentioned the aim and also mentioned the Paris Agreement 2005 to 2015. कितना progress किया आपने? In the third line, backdrop of rising climate emergencies and increasing scientific evidence on climate risk. In third line, I mentioned the climatic emergencies. Okay? In the fourth line, the conference focused on mitigation, adaptation, finance, and international cooperation. I mentioned the 4 important words in my introduction. So basically, the 4-line introduction is justifying with the answer. And now you can move toward the main body. The major outcomes of COP26 is that You can easily find what are the major, ठीक है, outcomes of Conference of Parties 26. This is the first point I mentioned. Number one, Glasgow Climate Pact was adopted by consensus, arguing countries to strengthen their climate pledge nationally determined contribution by 2022. The first line I mentioned about the Glasgow Climate Pact, and I also mentioned how it was passed through consensus, arguing countries, ये मैंने उसको mention किया, and nationally determined contribution, precautionary principles, and CBDR, common but differentiate responsibilities, ये कुछ ऐसी बातें थी. In second line, I started my, ठीक है, answer from, for the first time there was a global goal, phase down unabated coal and reduce fossil fuel subsidies. The most important point is that phase down unabated coal. I choose this line to reduce fossil fuel subsidies because everyone in the world finding the alternative, take a way of energy. Yes, we are talking about the renewable energy sources. Next, third line, I started my answer from developed countries were urged to double adaptation finance by 2025 to support developing nations. देखो, in third line, I mentioned the developed countries and their commitment regarding the finance. In the fourth line, progress was made on Article 6 of the Paris Agreement enabling a global carbon market mechanism. अभी देखा आपने 2025 का जो प्रीलिम्स हुआ है उसमें आर्टिकल 6 को लेकर वो क्वेश्चन था पीटी में, ये क्लास में हुआ है. गेटिंग माय पॉइंट्स, करवाया गया है क्लास में. देखो ये 2021 का क्वेश्चन है. सो मैं बार बार आपको कहता हूं कि ये जो क्लाइमेट समिट हो रहे हैं, दीज ऑल आर द, ठीक है, इंपॉर्टेंट समिट्स, एंड इसका जो, ठीक है, इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है, वी हैव टू रीड एंड वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड. So progress was made on Article 6 of the Paris Agreement enabling a global carbon market. This is the fourth line. Fifth line, a consensus was reached to keep the goal of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius within reach, demanding net zero emission by mid-century. In the fifth line, I discussed the global warming limit and net zero emission to the mid-centuries. Getting my point? In the last line, I finished my words from the however a major gap remained in mobilizing the promised $100 billion climate finance annually from developed nations. Remained in mobilizing the promised. So in the last line, I focused on the fund transfer which will come from the developed countries for the developing or least developing countries. Getting my point? So you will find out there, I mentioned the major outcomes in the man body, and you will find that these all are the 6 different lines. No repetition, no extreme views, no exaggeration, no hypothetical views, ठीक है, नो सेल्फ, या कह सकते हैं नो ऑक्सियम, सेल्फ प्रोक्लेम्ड वर्ड्स, नो एक्स्ट्रा वर्ड्स, ठीक है, यस, नो एक्सट्रीम व्यू. दीज ऑल आर द इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स विच यू हैव टू फॉलो ड्यूरिंग द आंसर राइटिंग. कभी कभी बच्चे लिखते हैं आंसर तो लगता है कि जो चेक करेगा वो ऐसा ही होगा, उसे पता नहीं होगा, कुछ भी लिख दो. जब कॉपी हाथ में आती है ना, तो एक एक वर्ड को ध्यान से चेक किया जाता है, बड़े बारीकी के साथ, समझे? सो इस बात का ख्याल रखा जाए. यू हैव टू फॉलो द गाइडलाइंस. इंडियाज की कमिटमेंट एट COP26, सेकंड पार्ट. इंडिया प्रेजेंटेड अ बोल्ड 5 points एजेंडा नॉन एज अ पंच अमृत. So achieve 500 gigawatt of non-fossil fuel-based energy capacity by 2030. Getting my points? Solar, wind, hydro, है ना, tidal, bio, these all are the renewable gases. And we have to decrease the dependency on fossil fuel. ये अच्छी बात है. Next, meet 50% of energy requirement from renewable sources. ये हमारा target है. Today, you know that alone almost 55, more than 55% of electricity is coming from the thermal power plants. ये बढ़ेगा, लेकिन अभी 20% का और इजाफा हुआ है, almost 75%. Reduce total projected carbon emission by 1 billion tons by 2030. This is the another important target. The fourth one, lower the emission intensity of GDP by 45% compared to the 2005 level. Achieve net zero emission by 2070. So you will find out there, we write just 5 lines and you will find that these all 5 lines have a very limited words but maximum meaning. That's why you have to select and choose the limited words to get the maximum marks. That's समझ में आ रही है? Now let's move toward the conclusion or way forward. So now you will find that there are 3 lines. India's commitment of COP26 reflect a balance between developmental needs and environmental responsibilities. Means you will find out there, I started my conclusion from the India's commitment. Means one side we have to think about the development and second side we have to think about the environmental concern. In the second line I started, while the outcomes of 26 mark progress, the real test lie in implementation. So I question marked on the outcomes of the COP26. You passed our resolution, there is no doubt. But whenever we talk about the implementation, so you will find out there the weak enforcement, the weak will, political power, weak political will, and you will find out there the tussle between developed and developing nation like USA and China, USA and India. So here we can say the most important thing is that implementation for climate justice. This is the second line. In third line, I mentioned ensuring that developed nations fulfill their finance and technology transfer obligation. Means I focused on please ensure that you have to transfer the technology and fund to developing countries. So you will find out there the 3 lines are talking about the 3 different meanings. And each and every line has a different condition, a different meaning, and a specific knowledge. Do you get my point? Okay, so this is the enough from the question. Getting my points? If we talk about the probable questions, so just remember in previous class, I provided almost 10 questions from class number 7 and class number 8. So there are 10 questions. You can solve these all questions because those all questions are related to the Conference of Parties, climate change, climate justice, Paris Agreement. So there's no need to give you the extra probable questions. Okay. So this is the enough from this side. See you soon with new question and answer and probable questions. Take care.